About 2 years ago, after my second dose of the COVID vaccine, I noticed that my urine was slightly pink. Reached out to my doctor. I heard it could be everything from kidney cancer to a kidney stone to a UTI, but nobody actually ever mentioned kidney disease. I did a little bit of research and saw that this was not an uncommon thing to happen to people with IgA nephropathy. I mentioned that to my doctor and was referred to a nephrologist. And a couple months later, I got my diagnosis after a biopsy. It's affected everything in my life. I always considered myself a very healthy person and always thought diseases were things that happen to other people. I never thought that I would get something like this. My husband and I have been trying to start a family, and it has certainly complicated things because it's not, while I can have children, it's not necessarily the best thing for your kidneys, the stress that it puts you under. So, think about my medical health constantly. It's always in the back of my mind. Going through this diagnosis has been very difficult for me, but also my friends and family. When I was diagnosed, I went through a grieving process, and the same thing happened to my family. I think it's been hard for me to be diagnosed with something that they've never even heard of. There's a lot more learning that is taken for them versus something that they understood what it is, but they don't know what happens with it. It's just not as common. And it's been very difficult for them. It's something that I know it's not uncommon for me to tell my mother about my test scores and for her to cry. It's difficult for them and for us. I wowould say be your own advocate. It was hard for me when I was diagnosed. I took everything the nephrologist said to just assume that they knew what they were talking about. But through my experience, I actually ended up trying 4 different nephrologists, and I now drive 4 hours one direction to see a nephrologist who I trust, who knows about the disease. So my advice would be to do your research, to seek out places like the University of Leicester and the laboratory here for expert opinions, but to know that you should also advocate for yourself as a patient. When I found out about the disease, I wasn't referred to any particular website or resource, so I just went online and started searching. I would say the first thing I stumbled upon was the IgA Nephropathy Foundation based in the States. And through that, I then found other sources like the University of Leicester. I would say for me, the things that have been most helpful are a lot of the research in like the YouTube series online for the university. And then I'm also one that loves data. So I'm always reading about clinical trials, and I would encourage anybody who is, especially at the beginning, just wanting to get to know what this disease is about, is to make sure they're looking at reputable sources. And, the University of Leicester would certainly be the top of the list.